it is 6:31 on October 30th, 2024, and the Nahant Board of Selectmen meeting is now in session. We have some announcement for opening comments. Election day, town hall offices will be closed except for use of the polling station. So that's Tuesday, November 5th, 2024. The polls will be open from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. at the Nahant Town Hall, but the town hall office will be otherwise closed.
Charge.
Hello? Compost area is open on Wednesdays and Saturdays from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. The 2024 resident park sticker is required. Visit the public works page at nahant.org for a full list of accepted materials. Fall leaf pickup. Pickup will be every Monday. Leaves must be in biodegradable bags and to the curb by 7 a.m. Visit the Nahant Public Works page at nahant.org for a full list of accepted material and pickup dates. The real estate tax bills are due November 1st. That's Friday. So please try to get your real estate bills paid by November 1st, Friday. We are in the midst of the short-term rental fee public comment period. We had a comment period for the regulations, and that is completed, and the regulations have been approved. And then we follow that with the public comment on the proposed fees. So if you have any comments on the proposed fees, send your comments on the short-term rental fees to ktaylor@nahant.org by November 1st. Again, that's Friday. To view the proposed fee schedule, visit the short-term rental page at nahant.org. Gene or Rob, any open comments that you'd like to make?
I have none.
I'm all set, Josh.
All right. I guess I'll add that I'd like to commend Diana Brandy, who is tending and creating and building really amazing gardens at the Johnson School. And if you haven't been by there lately, go by and take a look. That she is a tireless worker and is creating beautiful all native plant gardens, both in front of the school, all around the back. And yeah, Diana really deserves a lot of praise for her quiet behind the scenes work. I just drove by there earlier today. It's amazing what she's done. So I just wanted to mention that. The main Willie's going to be a bit late today, so we'll get into this anyway. So the main purpose of this meeting today is the new business, which is to vote to seek special legislation regarding the bond anticipation notes related to the financing of the Coast Guard housing property. So what this is as we know, the bond is due to be paid off mid-January 2025. House lots are for sale through the required process for municipal sales. 2 lots have been sold, and bids for additional lots are coming up. Those dates, we have one coming up this Friday, and then actually 3 next week. So the 6th, the 7th, and the 8th are all scheduled bid opening dates. If we should get any bids on those lots. So we have, through the sale of the first 2 lots, accumulated right around $950,000. The bond is for $1.866 billion. So we're roughly halfway there to being able to pay off that bond. But we do not yet have enough sales to pay off that bond. So this is really sort of a safety net in the event that we don't get 2 or 3 more sales, summing up to enough to pay off the bond entirely. So what we're doing here is requesting special legislation to extend that bond in the event that we don't have enough sales by the January date pay off the loan. So it's really a sort of no cost extension on the bond in case we don't sell enough lots to pay the bond off. So of course we hope that happens, but we have to prepare for the worst, and this is sort of the low risk way to prepare for the worst. We're also exploring other possibilities, but we have to move now to get this legislation in while they're in session. So that's the purpose here.
So, Josh, on the 6th, 7th, and 8th, anybody that's bidding on the 6th is also, if they don't win that bid on the 6th, they can also carry over and bid on the 7th and on the 8th?
Yes, but you are bidding on a specific lot. In other words, you can't say $500,000 for any lot. It's, they're all lot specific, but you're right, Gene, that if you don't get if your bid is not the winning bid on the 6th, you can bid again on the 7th and the 8th.
Thank you.
So, yeah. And those lots are now listed with MLS. So we're hoping at casting that wider net will, obviously attract more bidders. So we'll see how that works. So back to, I don't know if I have the ability to share the screen, but let's go ahead and make the motion, and then we can continue the discussion.
Josh, I just want to make a quick comment.
Yeah.
I'm very happy that we're able to extend the bond. I think it's extremely important for 3 particular reasons. One is that obviously time is of the essence to us, but selling real estate takes time by itself, and selling land is a particular niche that follows its own schedule, I think, also, just from what I've learned about it. In doing what we're doing, we ensure that the estimated value of each lot, as estimated by at least one real estate appraiser, I think maybe 2, I'm not sure, and the prices, the value that was established by that real estate appraiser has been further reinforced by our consultant, Lisa Scortis. She agrees that those are reasonable values. So in what we need to do and what we are doing is ensuring that those values are upheld. That's important to the people who have purchased lots already. That's important to people who might be prospective customers in buying more. They want to make sure that they're not going to wake up the following morning and see that they could have bought something else for half price. We're guaranteeing all that. And obviously the bottom line, it really does help demonstrate to Nahant residents that we are going to get the value of this land. It may not be a direct process. It's not as easy as buying a lot of things or selling a lot of things, but we will get there. And what we're doing now is we're buying the time necessary to do that.
Yeah. Thanks for adding that, Rob. It's important to
Mr.
make note of
Chair.
that.
Before you
Oh,
make
yeah.
the motion, can you invite discussion from Gene and you also yourself before you make the motion? And then you can invite
yeah.
anyone else.
Okay.
I, I agree with what Robbie's saying, and just wondering if it can't go any other way. In other words, we've got two customers. One has closed. Have two closed or one?
I think one has closed and one is scheduled like any day now.
It may see the Friday, it's either Friday or early next week.
Yeah.
Okay. So somebody had asked me if we didn't get additional bids, which I'm sure we will, can price become a factor? And that would be a difficulty to answer that question, simply because we have two bids that have been accepted and about to close on both.
Yeah.
So we're kind of not stuck in the middle, but there's no opportunity there to change what we're doing, the direction we're going in.
Yeah. Yeah. Agreed. And, we have a responsibility to the town, to the taxpayers of the town, to get as much for these lots as possible. And, as Rob pointed out, we had five real estate professionals as well as an independent appraiser estimate the value of these lots, and that all indicates that they're certainly not overpriced. So rather than panic and have a fire sale, shall we say, it's important to take our time, and this legislation would reduce the urgency. Of course, we would love to pay off the bond before the deadline, but not at the expense of not getting the best return for the taxpayers. So
That's a good point, Josh. Well made, because we don't need to push. We don't need a fire sale.
yeah. Yeah. So that's the idea behind this legislation. I see town administrator has joined. Tony, did you we've just been discussing, a little background on why we're pursuing this legislation, and we haven't shared any we didn't share the proposed legislation or the letter to our senators. And I know, Tony, you talked to the lieutenant governor a few days ago about supporting this legislation. So if you have anything to add, now would be a great time. We haven't yet made the motion, by the way.
Okay. Well, at risk of repeating, I'm sorry, I'm late to the meeting here. When we're looking at the due date of January 10th for the loan, and we're looking at the real estate market, and this all, comes through discussion with our listing agent. We have election coming up, which plays a role into potential buyers being ready, or it's a factor in their decision-making process. They went on MLS just recently, and which through our listing agent, Lisa, she said, that awareness has increased significantly through that method, and plus other marketing methods that she's pursued. But still, being on MLS doesn't equal potential buyers ready to submit a bid the very next day. Buyers are exploring it, asking questions, and then need to get their finances ready. So there's still a process, from the date of when they get on MLS and people become aware of them, that, that they are ready to go to submit a bid. But looking at the real estate market, mid-November to mid-January tends to be a slower time for selling property. And land is different from home sales as far as how that timing of the year affects the market. But still, the, recommendation is that we, pick back up the process, after the calendar year, in early January, mid-January. That being said, we do have 4 lots that we didn't receive bids on that we've reissued. Lot 7, we have a bid opening at 12:30 this Friday, the 1st. And then lot 9 on Wednesday next week at 12:30. Lot 5 on Thursday at 12:30, and lot 11 on Friday at 12:30 next week. What we're doing tonight is looking at a scenario where we run through those bids and potentially we don't receive any bids. And then we hit mid-November, holiday season, and the market slows down. How likely would we be to sell lots during that time and close in time to pay off the January 10th deadline of the loan? So looking at that January 10th deadline, we have, we've 3 different options really to consider. One is we pay off the loan with the cash we have in hand and essentially float until the end of the fiscal year, hope that we sell the lots in the spring and then cover the cost that way. Right now, after we close on the next lot, which is scheduled for early next week, the balance that we're talking about is just over, like, around $915,000. So floating the $915,000 with our own cash is risky, for the town. God forbid we didn't sell any in the spring, we could look at a deficit, at year end, a fiscal year end. So that comes with risk. That risk decreases if we end up awarding and closing on a lot that is up for sale next week and the following week. So it's possible that that's still an option for us, depending on how those bid openings work out. The second option is we can bond to pay off the loan. We have authority to do that. But with a bond comes with interest and taxes. So there's costs associated with it. Also with a bond, you can't pay it off early. So when you put a bond out to the market, you can put it out for 1 year. You can put it out for 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, but whatever you put it out for, that's the debt schedule you have to follow. We have bond counsel looking into that option. Their preliminary or initial input on that was, putting a bond out for $900-something thousand for just 1 year. You're not going to have a lot of buyers on the market for that, and they might, really charge you high interest on that type of borrowing. So you're looking more like a 2-year or a 3-year bond to get a good price. But the cons of that option are we'd have that on our debt schedule. It wouldn't impact our budget. If we sold the property sooner, we would just put the money into a special account and pay it over time. But it does come with extra costs, so that's not ideal. And then option 3 is what we're considering tonight, is getting special legislation to amend the due date of the current borrowing, which allows us, we can pay that off earlier. So if we're successful in the special legislation and changing the due date, it doesn't really slow us down in our efforts. We still attempt to sell these, as fast as we can, at the best rate for the town. And as soon as we make the additional $915,000, we pay off the loan, and it doesn't matter that we have an extension. As soon as we have it, we pay it.
Yeah, thanks for all that background. That was helpful to me. Yeah, so in a nutshell, it's a safety net as an alternative to bonding or floating the debt ourselves in the event that we don't sell enough lots by January 10th. Any other comments, Gene, Rob, Tony, Dan, before we make the motion?
I have a question.
Mr. Chair, the motion already made before invitation is made to the public to talk.
Thank you.
No, I
Um,
think that the third possibility is well put, and it seems to make a lot more sense than the other two for sure.
Yeah, and hopefully we won't need it. And if we do need it and it passes, as Tony said, as soon as we have the money, we'll pay it off and we'll move on. All right, so I move that the Board of Selectmen on the town's behalf request the introduction and passage of special legislation in substantially the form as discussed. With special legislation will allow the town to continue to issue debt on short-term basis without requiring principal payments for the Coast Guard housing land acquisition and sale. Project that the term of the notes shall not exceed 10 years from January 11th, 2025.
Okay, so now, Chair, if you'd like, you can invite the public to add their thoughts.
Okay, I heard Gene second it, and so we will open up discussion to the public. If you'd like to share your thought, remember to if you're able to raise your hand in the Zoom, unmute yourself and state your name and address and make your comment. Susan, did you want to start?
I did. Yes, please. Thank you. I'm sorry, I just logged on. How many lots have been sold? And I heard that there's still about $900,000 left in debt.
2 lots have been sold. That's it. Yeah.
Susan,
Right.
can you just announce your name?
Oh,
Did we get
sorry.
the name and address? Yeah.
Yeah, my name is Susan Malab and I live at 12 Bayview Ave. Thank you.
Yep.
So,
We started out with 1.866 million on the loan. That's still the amount of the loan. But 2 lots have been sold for roughly $950,000. So we're as Tony said, $915,000 short of being able to pay off the bond.
Okay.
Ju-
great.
just
Thank you.
technically, the first lot number 1 is sold, closed on. The third lot is under purchase and sale agreement, and we're scheduled to close on it early next week.
Great. Are there any others under purchase and sale pending, or is that it so far?
That's it so far.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Mhm.
The other 4 lots that were up for sale that didn't receive bids, we relisted them and are looking for bids this Friday and then Wednesday, Thursday, Friday next week.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Carrie?
Hi, 22 Breezehill Terrace. So am I getting this correct that you have the authority to extend this loan period of time so that you can get it correct because you don't have the money?
You were breaking up a little bit there, but I think what you asked, and correct me if I'm wrong, is well, we're requesting the authority. We're requesting the legislature to provide that authority.
So I guess I just have a comment, I guess.
Okay.
For years, pretty much, I've been hearing that this loan had to be paid on time. Nothing was more important than this land loan being paid in January. And every step of the way when someone wanted to like slow something down or try to have a better plan for this area. We were always told it was all about the loan. And so I'm just curious as to why nobody ever mentioned paying this loan or extending the loan when ideas were being thrown around about preserving some of this space for something.
Well,
Pretty much imagine why, but if the real estate is slowing down on these properties, do any of the selectmen have any ideas of like using the space for something we need in town, like housing, firehouse, council on aging stuff? Like, this is the opportunity I think we could put our brains together and use the space for something good.
well, what we're doing is executing the town meeting vote. So if you have if you have some different ideas for what should be done, you need to put it on the town meeting vote. And you have the authority to do that, but what we're doing is what town meeting vote told us to do. So
I also have heard that this loan had to be paid by January when other people were begging you to think about alternatives. Okay, so I'm just wondering if anybody on the selectmen like are thinking about this since the real estate is going slowly. Like, is it really set in stone that you have to sell every single lot? And if you do, that's great, that's fine. But is the money gonna go to something important that we need? And are you gonna like promote that eventually? Because personally, I think the firehouse and the DPW buildings really should be like start to be top priority.
All right. Well, thanks for your comments, Carrie.
We'll not selectmen's priority.
All right. Well, thank you for your comment. Shannon?
Yeah, thank you for your.
Good evening, gentlemen. My question is, what's the turnaround time on the legislation, or how long do you think this would take?
Good question.
The legislature is currently in informal session until the end of the calendar year. In speaking with our senator, he felt that legislation like this, non-controversial type legislation, specific to one community who's requesting it, it shouldn't be an issue to get it through the legislature by the end of the calendar year.
Really? Wow, that's cool. Okay. That's the only question I had. I mean, I think that everybody might be concerned about the slow wheels of the state, but that I hear what you're saying. That's promising. Thank you.
All right. Any other questions or comments from the public? We don't see anybody with their hand up or unmuted. So, any further discussion from the selectmen or town council, town administrator before we take a roll call vote?
I have none.
I'm ready to go, Judge.
All right, roll call vote.
Gene Canty, aye.
Thibault, aye.
Josh Antrim, aye. Okay, thank you for that. Next on the agenda is Coast Guard housing sale update. So I think we've probably covered a little bit of that, but
Yeah.
You want to recap it for us, Tony?
No, I'll just say that, Lisa has said that she's had a lot of serious buyers inquire. A lot of people have come out and taken a look at it. That there was, she believes that the pricing is solid, that she's run a lot of comps. She's talked to a lot of different agents, and she thinks that, honestly, it's described as a bargain. That the price is, for such limited availability of conforming lots, especially in Nahant, but not just in Nahant, that the price is good. It's just a matter of getting getting it marketed. And since she's created a website, she emailed 7,700 real estate agents, put it on MLS. She's been getting a lot of inquiries and is hopeful for this next round, this week and next week. But as she said, it is a quick turnaround for potential buyers that are new to being aware of the properties being available. And with the election next week, that has come up in some conversation. But is still very, very has a lot of faith in the effort that we're pushing and the path that we have laid out. So hopefully we have some qualifying bids this week and next week, to the point where we don't even need the special legislation. But if not, what we'll be doing is starting back up in mid-January. And we talked a lot about that process as far as how MLS works. So when we put that RFP out, we have to put it in the central register per procurement law for 30 days. MLS allows a listing agent to post coming soon properties for 21 days. So we can actually get the next round if we when we go to that, we can be adding the next round onto MLS 51 days ahead of time. So sometime in December. So that there's a lot of upfront awareness for potential buyers. So yeah, that's where we're at. That's the update. And I think Lisa's going to join us on our next meeting to give an update herself. But sorry, Susan.
Sorry, Tony, I'm sorry to interrupt. I had just another question. It's a little bit maybe different topic, but I think it's more around public, like I would call it the zone, like sidewalks and public access. Is there any way to improve or incorporate in what is being permitted or as part of the agreement, like a community agreement to improve the sidewalks and pedestrian pathway? Because I think that's, there's an opportunity there that I would just say that, with something brand new constructed, you could establish some zones there for path and trees or, anything, that could help people walking to, from that corner down the road. Cause I've experienced myself, it's a little tough.
Yeah. If you go on to Nahant.org, on the right side, you'll see a picture of the property. If you click on that and scroll down, you'll see some improvement plans published on the webpage.
Oh, good.
So on Castle Road, we have plans to improve the sidewalk and crossings in that area and that intersection. Also Goddard Drive, if you look at the plan, Goddard Drive will be widened and rebuilt. And then we got CPC funding at last year's town meeting to improve the Heritage Trail path that comes up to Goddard Drive.
Oh,
so
I didn't know that. That's great.
The timing of it is a little tricky because all of these properties, were once on oil heat, but it's possible that new property owners are going to want to connect to gas, which is on the street on Castle and Gardner.
Yeah.
And we're working with National Grid about adding a main on Goddard. We also want to replace the water main on Goddard as well and the hydrant.
Yeah.
So we don't want to make the sidewalk improvements and the street improvements until after those utility connections are made so that, you know, they're not dug up after being built. So it's somewhat of a timing thing.
Yeah.
So our hope is to follow, you know, those utility connections with the new improvements.
Oh, great. Thank you. That's good to know. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, so citizens forum is next. So again, have anything to say, raise your hand, unmute yourself, and name and address. There's Shannon.
Hey, gentlemen.
Name and address. Still the same
Sure.
name and address?
Yes, Shannon Bianchi, 14 Harborview Road, Nahant. Sorry, I didn't announce that earlier in my last comment. And if the clerk could just, add that in, that'd be polite. Two questions. Number one, last night at the planning board meeting, one of our alternate members raised some concerns about the sidewalk, and the width of the road down there. And, Tony, do you know what's going on with that? Maybe expand on the sidewalk issue a little bit. I know that this alternate member's been rather concerned about this for a while, but it'd be nice to have some clarification from you all about what's going on with the sidewalk and the lines and I think you were on the call.
You're talking about the sidewalk in front of the Coast Guard housing lots?
Yes.
Shannon?
Mhm.
Tony, are you in a position to share your screen and show that plot plan?
Yeah, hold on, let me pull that up.
So it's really the same, sort of the same question that Susan just asked. So
Yeah.
the changes to the sidewalk are all part of the plan.
Right. I felt like that was what was happening, and just for our alternate members' benefit, I just really like to take a rather shallow and quick dive into it.
Shannon, can I ask you a question? Are you offering your comments or someone else's comments?
Mine, because I'm curious about it too.
Your comments. You're not on behalf of someone else. You're talking for yourself.
Yeah, I'm
Okay.
not a
Well,
lawyer.
you keep saying someone else's ideas, or there's someone else's questions. Are these your questions or are these someone else's questions?
What does it matter? I'm asking them. It's my question.
All right, if you don't have to answer, I'm asking the question. If these are not your comments, well then.
I don't listen, Dan. I'm not an attorney. I don't represent anyone. I'm curious about this. That's why I asked the question and raised my hand.
So these are your questions,
All right.
not someone else's questions.
All right.
Correct. And I'm saying that I have the same question as the alternate member. Is that okay with you?
Let's run with it.
Okay.
Let's
right.
take a look at this diagram.
Look at the sidewalk.
Can you see my screen?
Yeah, sort of.
It's a
It's
little
kind of like
small. Are you able to zoom in on the?
And Tony, you said this is all on the Nahant website.
Yeah.
Yeah.
sweet.
All right, there you're there.
So
Oh, good.
this the 81X plan, as you can see, the old sidewalk actually runs through, and the edge of the road runs through the properties along Castle Road. This dotted line kind of shows where that easement area is for the current, where the old sidewalk is. And scrolling down here to the Castle Road plan. So we hired Stan Tech to come out and take a look. They've measured, and it's all done to traffic standards. What the town's actually doing is going to be shrinking the width of the road leading into this intersection, which actually we've even talked about, after this, considering continuing this as you get to Johnson School, because shrinking the width of the road actually is a traffic calming measure. And being in a school zone, slowing cars down in this area, improves pedestrian safety as well. So what this design is we're actually taking the old sidewalk and the old curb and moving it streetward outside of the lots so that the lots are conforming and there's no issues with permitting.
Mm.
And the other element of the old sidewalk is that if you've been down there, it's actually elevated from the street. These properties kind of go up a little bit from the street. So by bringing
Yeah.
it down to street level, it'll be a flat sidewalk, with granite curbing and handicap ramps. This is a recessed, just concrete stamped island. It's not going to be, something that you can't drive over. But the idea of this stamped concrete island is to encourage drivers to enter this intersection more at a 90-degree angle, because there has been a lot of issues with folks coming from Garden Road, taking a left on Castle really tight here. And if someone's coming from Castle going left or going straight onto Kobe, there's been a lot of close calls. However, we want a recessed stamped island because of, larger trucks, fire trucks being able to get through this intersection. Adding proper crossing here to get to the other side of Gardner where there's existing sidewalk, and adjusting this corner so that there's good sight lines from someone, standing on this corner. You have a crossing here, and then we created a temporary crossing when we pulled out the old sidewalk down in this area. And we're actually probably going to make that permanent because we've gotten a lot of positive feedback from the use of, of having a crosswalk closer to the Johnson School.
Okay. Thanks for that, Tony. I really appreciate it. And my second question is really not related to the sidewalks or the Coast Guard housing, but as to the meeting. Is there like a reason why you guys aren't on TV or YouTube tonight? I mean, I tried to get on, but I was like, oh, so now I have to join by Zoom, and I just maybe
Yeah.
special legislation stuff is, maybe next time you guys want to do special legislation stuff, maybe it would be good to televise it and put it on YouTube. Maybe. Just saying. I guess it's not a question; it's more of a statement. So
our meetings are typically the first and third Wednesday of every month. And so our standard schedule with Cablecast, which is the software we use to stream from Zoom to the local TV channels, is set up for that first. It's a reoccurring preset schedule of first and third. This is a special selectmen meeting because it's outside of our normal schedule, because we're trying to do this legislation sooner than wait till next week. It was just a technical mishap of adjusting the schedule on Cablecast.
All right. I understand. It'd be nice to have this promoted then, some way or another. I appreciate it. I'll sign off. Thank you, guys.
We'll certainly add it to the agenda at our next meeting, and we can talk about it again and have people talk about, give people the opportunity to comment. But we really don't want to waste a day here. We want to get it to the legislature as fast as we can.
I understand that. All right. Thank you, guys. Good night.
Great. Any other comments or questions from the citizens? I don't see any hands up or any microphones unmuted. So,
Motion to adjourn.
Seconded.
okay, any discussion? Don't think so. Okay,
Get you by surprise.
roll call vote.
Jane Canty, aye.
Rob Tittle, aye.
Josh Enter, aye. Night, everyone. Thanks.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night. Thanks.